touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today. All right, so starting out with the first game on the slate, we got New York versus Boston. And this could be an interesting spot, but looking at it right now, we can see it's a game that could potentially blow out, and it's not going to be the highest over and under at 223. So given the fact that not many points will be scored, and also the fact that this game could potentially be a blowout, it is going to be tougher to like say one of these prop bets are good prop bets. And just looking at it right now, we know that Marcus Smart is out, okay? And so with Marcus Smart out, we aren't seeing like great projections considering that. Like Jason Tatum's per 36 numbers with Marcus Smart off the court is actually 28.6, and Tatum does average over that number, so that's why it's set at 30, and he does average 31 points per game. So to me, that seems like a stay away. That's not going to be one that we want to attack. And then someone like Jaylen Brown actually averages 27.2 points per 36 with Marcus Smart off the court, and he is someone that should probably most likely get over that minutes. And he is someone that does average 26.9 on the season, so slightly above there. Obviously, this is a pretty good matchup as well. Look at what he did the last time against New York, 30 points. And so if I had to pick one for Boston on this game, and I'm not saying we have to, it would be Jaylen Brown over. But really, the two players I'd probably want to attack the most would be Malcolm Brown and also Grant Williams, because they get the first and third most minutes with Marcus Smart on the court, and we just aren't getting that yet. You could potentially do Derek White, last game 23 had 11 points against Orlando, and in that game against Orlando, he actually got banged up in the first half, only played like 9 minutes. There was something weird with his neck, and so in theory, if he does get let's say 30 or so minutes, he should be able to get the over here, but I'd say that's far from a lock and load. And if we were to look at like DK Sportsbook as well, they're saying the Jaylen Brown one is basically a push, favoring the under a little bit more. And then also same thing with Derek White, favoring the under a little bit more. So that's where I'm getting a little bit weary with that. So I say we just go ahead and move on into this next game. So the first one that really pops up as like a good prop bet based off of the odds we are getting is going to be Patrick Williams under 11.5 points. So if we just look at that game, it is one that, possibly could blow out, but it's going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game as well. This game really predicates on whether LaMelo Ball plays or not. But right now we can see DK Sportsbook is favoring Patrick Williams to get the under at minus 130. And one thing I want to start doing more of is kind of comparing DK Sportsbook against other sportsbooks as well. Collectively, it is minus 128. So, pretty favorable that they are all kind of saying he is most likely going to get the under. Now, where I struggle with that is literally the last time he played Charlotte, he had 16 points. And Charlotte is a team that you've been attacking a lot thus far this season, just in general, with your big. And so that's where I'm struggling with it. Now, I want to try to find a way to possibly bet Vucevic over, and we don't have the fantasy points yet. I'd probably want to go with that. We could potentially do points, rebounds, and assists, although that feels far from a lock. The reason I want to chase Vooch in some fashion is the fact that he has been going off recently, especially fantasy point wise if we were to look at that. The slight issue would be the last time he faced Charlotte only had 37 DK points there. So really it's just predicated on what the fantasy projection is set at. If it's not too much higher than the points, rebounds, and assists, let's say 38, we could potentially chase that. It'd definitely be more matchup based, but that still feels like we're forcing it. So moving on into the next game now, kind of looking at Phoenix versus Dallas. Spencer Dinwiddie over 18.5 points. And this is kind of one of the things that I typically like to do just fantasy wise is when we have been hitting on a player, I typically do not like to jump ship when the situation hasn't changed at all. So why had we been betting Spencer Dinwiddie the past few games? Because Christian Wood has been out. And with Christian Wood out, Spencer Dinwiddie averages 20 points per 36. And so we can see his projection still isn't over that. Now, really, the biggest worry with Dinwiddie would simply be the fact that he has been over this number in let's check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games now. Okay. And I guess that's the worry to me is that, yes, eventually that's going to come down. But we can see on the season, and this is probably more or less where they're projecting it, 17 points per game. But with Christian Wood out, we've seen him get 35 and 36 minutes. We look at the last game against Phoenix, only put up 15 points, but did only get 28 minutes in that game. So, if you give him, 7 more minutes, it's not tough to see him getting, slightly over that. It should be close. And then another game against Phoenix, 21 points. And in that game, kind of the same thing, 28 minutes. So let's look at that game. We shouldn't have to worry about a blowout there. So in theory, this should still be a good bet. The biggest worry, once again, is that he has literally had the over too many times in a row to the point where it's eventually going to, he's going to miss. He's going to have a cold night shooting. So really what I'm saying is if you guys have been hammering this bet, stick with it. If you guys haven't been, it almost feels like you're jumping on it too late. And we'll say all the sports books, and including DK Sportsbook, is saying, hey, minus 135 for the over. So that's a good number there as well. And collectively speaking, it's about minus 120 across all the sportsbook to get the over. So a little bit of discrepancies there across the sportsbook, whereas, DK has it at minus 130. Collectively, it's only minus 120. And this game right here is going to present some stacking opportunities. And so if you're going to run a 3-leg bet, just make sure to do that on Underdog where, the payout's a little bit better. So, if you miss, the amount of times you can miss is a little bit greater before like your break-even point with a bet. So looking at Finney Smith here, the sportsbooks are really saying he is going to get the under here. It's about minus 120 collectively. If you pull up DK Sportsbook again, minus 130. We can see, been right around there a bunch lately. And he is someone with Christian Wood off the court. His per 36 is 10 points. If we look at his last game against Phoenix, though, 3 points. And the previous game before that, 5 points. And so he is already someone that, only averages 8.5 points per game. You look at his per 36 numbers, it's only 10 points. So really the bet here is him not getting 36 minutes. That's the biggest part of this bet. And also kind of Phoenix shutting him down once again. And I would say both of those are pretty likely. And so really these are kind of the two strongest bets that we have is DINWIDDIE over and DFS under. I do just want to call out like Tim Hardaway Jr. had a terrible night shooting last game, and he has been so hit or miss lately. Like he's only had one good shooting game, and that was against the Clippers. But if you are on DK Sportsbook and want to bet the over points, you could at minus 105. That's decent. I would say PrizePicks wise, the only way we'd be betting the over points there is if we're betting the under for DINWIDDIE. Now, I don't know how I feel about the under bets for Bridges today because the sportsbooks are saying, hey, he's favored to get the under in both points and assists. So 17.5 points, we can see he's been over that 5 straight games. But what's interesting, if we just look at Bridges with Campaign off the court, with Booker off the court, and Shamet off the court, who are all projected to sit tonight, he only averages 17.7 points per 36, and he averages 4.3 assists, and I'll bring that up later here. So even though he's had the over, like 5 straight games, the sportsbooks are favoring minus 130, especially DK Sportsbook, of the under. On the season, only averages 16.4 points, okay? We saw with Chris Paul back, his shot attempts went down, but that's also because the game blew out. Against Dallas, the last time out, game was a blowout, only 13 points. And then the other game against Dallas, only 13 points as well. That game was closer, he played 41 minutes. And part of this is assuming that Aiden is going to play. So really, this is a bet on Dallas defense really stepping up and keeping the pace of play low, thus the scoring low. Okay, that's really what we're betting here because I do think Miles Bridges is going to get a lot of minutes with all those injuries still out. So shot attempts should be there, like 12 to 13 shot attempts. So you're really just betting on the game flow. But they are saying, hey, Miles Bridges under, DFS under points, and then also you could look at Spencer Dinwiddie over points, and that'd be a decent game stack. Once again, if you're going to do a bet like that, make sure to do it on Underdog. Payouts better. And I mentioned Bridges assists, and maybe you want to use this more. That's going to be up to you guys. They have this set at minus 130 as well, and it's pretty much that across the board betting wise as well. Another one that's decent would be, and I don't really love doing these, is the Tatum blocks, rebounds, and steals, and they had this set at minus 130, so decent odds there. Obviously kind of matchup based there with New York. So the last couple of days it felt like we weren't getting the best NHL bets. Now today it feels like we were getting some really good bets. So like Brad really let us down on the Taco Tuesday being like heavily favored to get the over. Well, that's still going to be the case today. Across all the sportsbook, they have his line set at like minus 124 to get the over of 2.5 shots on goal. So collectively, that's really good. DK Sportsbook has it set at minus 135. So also very good odds there as well. So for David, they have the over and under set at minus 137 collectively across all the sportsbooks to get under 4.5 shots on goal. We can see over his last, 4 games, he's been under that pretty heavily in all but one of them where he was highly over it. Okay, so pretty crazy there. I would say this is one of the more favorable bets that we're going to get on the slate as it sits right now. Obviously 4.5 shots on goal is a ton just in general. So here we have another under that I don't love too much. DK Sportsbook has this under set at minus 140 here. So, pretty good odds there. I just don't like that the fact that he's been right around there, 5 straight games now. So it's really just, I feel like that's more 50-50 than what the odds are saying. So Josh Anderson is kind of the best odds that we're getting collectively across all the books to get the under 2.5 shots on goal. We can see has a few games in which really under it with only 1, 0. And then the other games where he's highly over it, 4 and 5. So there does seem to be some like discrepancies there, but they have collectively, the sportsbook had this set at minus 138 to get the under, which are the best odds I could find on today's props slate. Now I know what you guys were thinking. I need some overs, Eric. Come on, give me some overs. So we got Jeff Skinner over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 140 on DK Sportsbook. Across all the sportsbooks set at minus 132, so also some pretty good odds to get the over here. Another under at minus 135 collectively. 2.5 shots on goal. And then I don't like this as well. Jack Hughes under 4.5 shots on goal, collectively around minus 128 on DK Sportsbook, minus 135. So decent odds there as well. So for the PGA Tour, they're not giving us greens and regulations or fairways hit today simply because the weather is supposed to be brutal. So we are seeing that some of the golfers are going to be playing on a harder track, which is the South course. They're playing on 2 different courses this week. With that, some of these studs like Collin Morikawa, Will Zalatoris, who are playing on this harder track, are actually projected to score over par. And really the one I feel most confident with would be Will Zalatoris over strokes. He just struggles a little bit more in the wind than Collin Morikawa than Xander. And then the rest of them kind of just feel like stayaways. I think the best approach would be maybe attacking birdie or better percentage matchup wise. So like Jon Rahm is favored pretty heavily over JT, just a little bit better in the wind. You can make that bet if you want to. Another one would be Justin Rose, who is a much better wind player than Tarin. It's one of the biggest discrepancies that I saw in really birdie or better percentage, comparing how they play in wind and comparing how they're projected to play for round 2. Justin Rose is one of the better odds that we got. And then another one that I was kind of surprised about is Beau Hossler, a Texas-based player, obviously plays in the wind a decent amount, going against Dylan Fratelli. Fratelli hasn't been like a really strong play lately, whereas Beau Hossler has been, so that's really what it is. But those were the 2 biggest differences that we saw. And so here are my favorite bets for today. It'd be Beau Hossler, birdie or better matchup over Dylan Fratelli. Justin Rose over birdie or better matchup against Tarin. Now, I do want to warn you, it is a very poor weather day. Random stuff can happen there. Spencer Dinwiddie over points. The sportsbooks were just heavily favoring that one. DFS, I don't feel as comfortable with that one. Okay, but you could easily bet that one. Less points. And then you could also do the Mikal Bridges one as well. If we want to do 3 NBA bets, and that would highly correlate, guys, is just Dinwiddie, DFS, and then Bridges. You could do that one as well. Once again, if you're doing that 3-leg bet, do that on Underdog where the payout is better. Josh Anderson, less shots on goal, and David under 4.5 shots on goal. Hate betting the unders, but that's kind of what the slate is dictating today thus far. Now, I am going to work on a props-based NBA tool kind of for fun. I'm going to test it out today a little bit. And I might be doing a live stream if I am able to finish that. I might do it around 2:30 Central Standard Time, PM, obviously, if I have time to. Because I want to get more information out to you guys, because the slate does change throughout the day. Thoughts that were there in the morning don't hold up throughout the day. And I just want to put you guys in the best position to be able to profit. So I want to do that. That's something I need to do more of. I tried the write-ups, and I just hate doing write-ups, guys. I do. So the more videos I can produce, the better, I would say. So that is something I'm working on. We'll see. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys have a good slate. As always, good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.